Hi, everybody. I'm Daikeem Lyles, and I'm back again with another episode of Casting Directors Say What? Each month, I spotlight an amazing casting director in this industry, big and small, because a lot of what we do is misunderstood or not understood at all. And I hope that this series can shine a light on all the wonderful, hardworking casting directors that I've been able to work with and that I know of who work really hard to help bring others' dreams to life. Now, today we have a very special guest. This is someone who I find extremely supportive in this industry. She's helped me out tremendously. I always feel supported by her. Not only is she a wonderful, nice person, she's beautiful, and she's cast one of my favorite shows of last year, Severance. Introduce yourself.
Oh, your words are so incredibly meaningful to me, and so thank you for that. Yeah, I am Bess Fifer, and I get to say this now, Emmy nominated casting director for the show Severance, which I am so incredibly privileged to work on, and an upcoming TV show called City on Fire, which is coming out in May on Apple Plus as well. So yeah.
Great. Now, what type of things do you cast?
Yeah, I used to do a little of everything, or I should say I have done a little bit of everything, but mostly now television, and I still try and do a couple independent films a year to keep my foot on like the beat of things, and also to be able to do some passion projects, and they balance each other out because some things pay better than others and allow me to do more. Yeah, and pre-pandemic, I think I definitely did a lot more commercials. But no, not post-pandemic, not so much.
All right. Now let's talk about how you got started in casting, because everybody's story is so different, but there are some similarities to how we get started in this industry that has no school for us to study this.
Yeah, my fiance at the time, my now husband, and I moved to New York City in 2004. And I, was able to not only get an internship, but also be able to have financial support and be able to work for free for almost 6 months, while getting and not only enough experience to get my internship, which was at then Bernard Telsey Casting, but then to be able to work for no money for a significant amount of time. Luckily, that doesn't happen, and we're collectively as a community working on ways to make sure that there are no such things as unpaid internships, because that is absolutely not equitable for everyone. It really diminishes a lot of people's ability to get into a career if you're going to have to work for free. So working on all of that.
Yeah, a lot of us seem to have gotten started as an intern. I did too. And I had reached that point where I was like, okay, just like you, about 6 months. And then that 6 months came, and I was like, I can't work for free anymore. And then they were like, come and join us. And I was like, really? Oh, wow. So it's so funny how we all kind of, and also too, it's very different now. Like, I think we were lucky when we started out, because if we were to start now, I mean, I just don't, it's so difficult now.
In a multitude of ways. I moved to New York post college. I think a lot of now internships or early assistantships, the learning experiences you need to be currently enrolled in college. And I would not have qualified for that. So that is something that has definitely changed. But yeah, I think luckily we're moving into a better progress of how to train incoming colleagues, at least hopefully.
Yeah, because I was right out of college too. They were like, you want credits? I'm like, no, help me.
Yeah.
Now, here's my next question to you. Why the hell casting? What about this industry or this side of the industry that you love so much that has kept you doing it?
Yeah. I was just out of college and I was taking some graduate courses. I had gone to school for exercise science and nutrition, and
Oh,
the
wow.
main path being to be, going to physical therapy. And I was like, whoa, that's not like physically, my body was like,
Like, Beth, what are
And
you
I was just
doing?
like, I had always been a performer. I needed to find a way to be involved somehow. What it was, I took an aptitude test. Casting director was on an aptitude test. It came up,
Oh,
and I
wow.
was just like,
Aptitude test.
an aptitude test, and I just was like, what is this job?
Mm-hmm.
And what drew me to the career is what still drives me today, is that I would be able to work with actors, be with them, help them release their artistic expression, while also like helping people get jobs and like move
Yeah.
forward, and like seeing people succeed. And yeah, it's still what I love.
Yeah, it's really fulfilling to watch people who you've seen struggle or start from the bottom and then have success. Like, I can't tell you how many people come up to you and like, Dakeem, you cast me in my first commercial. I'm like, and look at you now. I'm just like, the fact that they even remembered that I did that, but now that I can see all their hard work pay off and that they didn't give up and they knew to keep going and that I was part of that support system, it
Yeah.
does feel good in a way, you know?
Yeah. And we're involved so early in the process.
Yeah.
It's they then come in contact with hundreds more people
Mm-hmm.
after they've been with us.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's super wonderful when someone comes back and it's just like, that was real. Someone thanking you is like the most incredible thing, because yeah, we are so removed from the process by the time things are released. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, I would love to talk about what your perspective is on the current state of casting in the industry from your side of the film, television, indie film side. And like,
Yeah.
what should actors sort of understand about casting and auditioning today in 2023? Because it's a lot different now than 2019.
It's completely, at least from the TV I can speak from, and the independent film.
Yeah.
Uh it's completely different than how I was doing my job in 2019.
Mhm.
And I think for actors, I think one thing to know and also keep in mind is, between TV, film, commercials, theater, we are all doing our jobs so significantly different from each other
Yeah.
now. Theater is very much going back in person,
Mhm.
per
Yeah.
per their union. Let's get everybody back in person.
Mhm.
You can speak on commercials. My understanding it's mixed. Some
Yeah.
people are back, some people aren't. You might do callbacks,
And it's small and very selective now. It depends on the client and how much money they have and what they want to do and what they need.
Exactly. And for films, at least my experience with the latest independent films, trying to do as much off of tape as possible, otherwise being in trying to do things over Zoom. I think in some ways that's really been helpful to independent film, because it saves them some money on expenses of
That
audition.
live virtual interaction that we
Yes, for sure. And allows your team to not have to be in the same place, again, budgetary, having everybody flying around.
Yeah.
For TV, it's like, if it's not the pilot process of like casting your main roles, your series regulars, where you also would probably have a testing option and things in place. Those are kind of the only things that are happening in person, like if it absolutely has to. And from my experience, I know other people have done different things. We've always tested everyone.
Yeah.
And nobody has even gone into person, even in early stages, without having being tested, at least from the platforms, networks that I've been working on. And once you've started filming, it's a bigger deal to have everyone in the room, because you're trying to respect the current working environment and all of those people needing to remain as healthy as possible. COVID is not gone, especially not in theaters and on sets. It's you're back and close into person, in close contact. And yeah, I think just knowing that each of us is we're all learning a new normal, right? You and I are, and of course the actors are as well.
And, we want to be careful with that in-person. At least I'm conscious of in-person things because, I'm a COVID compliance officer too. But, when I see actors come and I'm like, I don't know if they have other jobs after this. I don't want this audition to affect a job that they've booked because they got sick on this audition. And now the 3 jobs that they have coming up, they can't do. And the same thing for us casting directors too. So, it's very delicate nowadays.
Absolutely. And, behind the camera, we can all remain masked, but at some point the actors can't be. And yeah, I don't think that you should have to risk your health for a job interview. And so yeah, if you're going to come in and audition in person for this, and that might potentially make you not available for another opportunity, not because you booked the job, but because you were exposed to something that's going to keep you from working.
Yeah.
But luckily, more and more producers and directors are getting comfortable viewing self-tapes, and adjusting at least their visual expectations.
Right.
It's nice to be able to give more people an opportunity by doing the self-tape process versus who I can physically see in person on a day-to-day basis from the TV, independent film perspective.
Now, what is one misunderstanding about being a casting director that kind of drives you crazy? Because, there are people, I tell people sometimes I'm a casting director and they're like, what's that?
Yeah. I think, my parents still don't really understand what it is that I do, which is fine. I think the misconception is really among the people we work with, it's just to say the actors, the talent, the artists, is that we are some sort of gatekeepers, that that you have to get through us in order to then be seen by the producers and the directors. And, it's just, that's, I think, so harsh all around. And so I think the more that actors can know that we want to push them through, this, we want to have so many options, right? That we're like, oh, how do we really, narrow this down? That's what we're hoping for, and so we're not gatekeeping. We're trying to help. And I think that was a lot clearer when we could be in the room. And I do think it is on casting directors now to figure out how to keep that connection between the actors, of helping them.
Yeah.
We can't help them in the room. How do we provide direction, provide insight, and perspective, when we're not personally in the room together, or not, on Zoom and on camera? And I do think that that's up to, you and I and the casting directors to figure that out.
Yeah, I just did a cast job, and I had moved all my favorite actors up to the top so they could be seen first. And I'm like, oh, she's beautiful. She's gorgeous. She's such a good actress. Oh, I love her. I got to put her first. And then when the director made his choices, he just picked somebody that he had already worked with on the set. And I was like, you didn't like so-and-so and that person? Oh, well, I tried.
Right. No, and he was perfectly happy with that because he knew what he was going to get.
And he needed that sort of security, knowing, okay, when I'm on set with this person and the producer's hanging over me talking about time is money, I know I can work with this actress to get what I need. So that's part of it.
They're going to be a team player and delightful to work with.
Yes, that's that. People forget that, we're not just hiring you for your talent, but as casting directors, we're looking to make sure that you're a cool person to be here on set with for 14 to 18 hours. Now, I'd love to talk to you a little bit just about networking and what advice you have for actors when it comes to networking. Like, my first quick question is, like, do you like being contacted? And please be honest.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I think that's tagging on to what I was saying before, I think that's part of how we need to make ourselves as casting directors more accessible.
Yes.
To actors, right? And so
we need them.
Absolutely. And like you said, how else are we going to get to know them personally to know that they're going to be a good person on the set and that we want to fight for them even more because we know that they're a good person, right? Because we all want to work with good people. That's why we keep working with them. And so absolutely, like on my website, you know, I have my email address. It's info@fifercasting.com. I check that. That does go to me. I do look at everything. I can't respond to everything. That would be an impossible task. I would have to pay someone to do that for me. And I am not busy enough, nor do I want to be busy enough to have the need for someone to have to check my email for me. But that is, to me, the things that I would say not to do is
like what gets your attention when people send you email? What would you know? Because we get so many emails. What's emails that make you stop and be like, oh, let me read and look at this?
I think on the reverse of that, I would like to say, what are the ones that don't immediately get weeded out? And that's anything that's like a form email update. If it looks like something that you blasted out to some sort of email thing, my spam is filtering that out.
Yeah.
You know, so I think the first thing to do is send the personal note. Even if you're attaching a flyer or something like that, send the personal note. That's going to remain in my inbox for when I have time to go through all of that stuff.
And also, too, I think it's important to be aware of how you're contacting people and what's working and not working. I have an individual for the last 5 years has been contacting me the same cold, steely way. A headshot, so-and-so, I'm an actor, please hire me. Literally, that's all the emails. And I'm like, I haven't ever responded to them in the last 5 years. Nothing has changed about their direction. So be aware of how you're reaching out to a casting director and have some empathy for them because they are a person, you know?
And you know who he is.
Yeah, I do.
And it wasn't a good impression. It wasn't a good impression. So you have done essentially what I guess the intention was to make you know who they are, but it's not with any sort of desire to want to work with this person. And I think that's, you know, like you said, we're human beings. We can't respond to everything. And if you haven't heard from us, you know, what I always say is when you have something to share, something that I can see, that's when you follow up, not just like, hey, I'm an actor, you know, hire me. Great. I'd love to. If I have something going on, show me what you can do. How do I get to know you?
Yeah. And something as simple as a proper email. Like, to me, a proper email always starts with a dear so-and-so or hi, my name, and then whatever you have to say. You should, like, if you're sending emails that don't have like dear Bess or hi Bess and they're just headshot and give me a job, like, you really have to start rethinking your approach.
You know, there's this whole thing with Chat GPT now and how a lot of these new hiring softwares are rejecting things just based on like how your cover letter is formatted. And I think that people really forget that like this is also a business, and as actors, you are personal companies, you are small businesses. And so you do need to, until we know each other, you do need to come across as like, hey, this is, how can I show you that I'm somebody that you want to get to know?
Right, like, check out this new business, you know?
First impressions are still very important, even if they are, you know, to be read as opposed to be in person and, you know, heard and seen.
Yeah. Now, what realistic advice would you have for an actor who like decided that they want to make this a career choice? You know, like, I've been inspired by other actors and other people, and I'm like, you know, I think I'm going to try this. But they just have no idea where to start, you know, besides getting your talent in order. So, because that's your product that you're going to try and get other people to invest in. What advice do you think is crucial to them thinking about and knowing when they want to start this career path?
Yeah, I think being an actor is incredibly noble and incredibly hard, to put yourself out there, you know, physically, mentally, as your art,
Yeah.
you know, is not something that I could consider doing. I don't have the, let's say, mental capacity to be able to do that. So I have a huge respect for actors and the artists that they are. And I think because I do revere them so much in that strength that they have, you have to have the confidence of like, there's nothing else that I can do. And when you have that feeling of there's nothing else that I can do, I think you also seek the opportunities, right? So if you're jumping in, you have to start small, which is to say you have to create.
Yeah.
So finding a way to create, you know, if it's, whether it's like finding student films to be a part of in any way possible, whether it's writing your own material so that you can perform it, put it on camera, whatever that is, finding ways to direct yourself, you know, finding other ways to create that art, or also have accessory, ancillary hobbies as well, and pursuing those interests as they all swirl around together. But I do think at the heart of it, for an actor, it's like there's a just a drive in people of like, you know, this is what I have to do, because everybody knows the story of they didn't become a success until, you know, their 50s or their 60s, or they had a success as a child, you know, looking at Ki Kwan, and, you know, and now it's like 30 years later, it's like he never lost that drive. And I do think that like the most successful, some people are just incredibly talented and they're able to get into rooms and get opportunities, and, you know, but I think for the average person wanting to step in, it's just creating. How do you create? How do you make art, and finding that way to make the art?
Yeah. And now for our last, you get a bonus question because your answers are so great. This one, though, is for the wannabe casting directors out there. You know, like I said, there's no training. You can't go to college. There's nothing in high school that they teach you. What advice would you give to an upcoming casting director, somebody who's like, boy, listening to Bess Fifer has really inspired me and I want to get started? Where should they begin, you think?
Yeah, and I knew you were going to ask this question, and I didn't want to think too much about it, but I do want to tie it back to, as we were talking about, both of us kind of interning and having to do all of that. And I think one of the things that has been most beneficial to me, as I've also tried to help future generations of casting professionals not have to work for free, is knowing, sounds so simple or basic, knowing your worth, right? Knowing, talking to other people and knowing what you should be making at an assistant level from these certain things. And you should know, you know, as an associate, what that means and what you're expected. You should know, you know, a perspective of like who you're working for and what they are working for, right? Yeah. Most of us are not going to work for somebody that is handling all of those expenses for us. Right. If we're not out there trying to pursue our own jobs and projects, right? I try and protect my associate as much as possible. But I also want him to know what I'm doing and how I'm trying to make things
better
right for him, by letting him know in situations what I am also working for. Right. Yeah. I think a lot of people are underpaid and don't know how to advocate for themselves. And I think, you know, especially those of us that are able to work on projects that are under the union and have the ability to be protected under those things with pension and health and healthcare, which is the dream for all of us to have that. But yeah, knowing how everyone else works too, right? I think if you're a dancer, it's much learning more than one type of dance or more than one modality is only beneficial to you, right? Just as I would say work for a multitude of casting directors to learn how everyone does their job so that you can formulate how you want to do your job. I think that doing that on the business side is important as well.
Yeah. Excellent answer. Bess, thank you so much. I love chatting with you. You really gave some really insightful and helpful information that I hope you all appreciate. You know, you're getting some really real world info from these people who work really hard and advocate for actors and people's projects. So thank you so much. Tell us your name one more time and how people can reach out to you.
Bess Fifer. My website is fifercasting.com, and my main email address for everyone is info@fifercasting.com.
Excellent, guys. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next month for Casting Directors Say What and another great guest to talk to. Take care.